Since coming out 10 years ago, old school RuneScape has had its fair share of money-making methods. Some of them fade into obscurity, some have withstood the test of time, and new ones pop up every year, but only a select few methods have earned the title of being a banned moneymaker. Methods that were so broken that players who abused them were banned, and the method itself needing an immediate patch. One of the most infamous moneymakers to ever exist was actually around when the game first released all the way back in 2013, and it wasn't patched until 2017, over 4 years later. This shop, in its prime, could make you up to 15 million GP per hour. Here's how. Back when old school RuneScape was first released, you were only able to complete a single achievement diary, the Karamja diary, and for completing the different diary tiers, you'd be rewarded with a different type of Karamja glove. These Karamja gloves had a perk which gave you access to the greatest moneymaker in the game, a buffed version of the Karamja general store. If you had your Karamja gloves equipped, the shop would buy the items you sell to it for 70% of their value. For example, if you purchased a pair of rune plate legs for 41,000 GP, you could then sell those plate legs to the shop for 1.75 times their low alchemy value. The low alch price of rune plate legs is 25,600 GP, so multiply that by 1.75 and you get 44,800 GP, a 3.8k profit. Players would stack thousands of items in their inventory that they could then sell to the shop for profit. Some notable ones being rune 2Hs, rune plate skirts and plate legs, dragon plate legs, battle staves, onyx bolts, and more. Having all of these items noted in your inventory and then selling usually one of the more expensive items and 5 of the less expensive ones could profit you around 45,000 GP per world. And with Windows mouse key setup, which a lot of people were using back in the day, that 45,000 GP profit could be done in seconds. The money you can make off of this was greatly accelerated when the Grand Exchange came out in 2015, as it allowed you to buy bulk items continuously throughout the day, which you can then sell to this shop in mass. Back in the day, there was also a world hopping limit. If you hopped worlds too quickly on an account, you would have an annoying login wait timer to get back in. So many people doing this method would just have multiple accounts to bypass this. One of the most well-known players to ever play the game actually used this method. More on him in just a little bit. There's something we gotta do first. When you grab yourself a pair of Raycon earbuds, not only are you getting them at a very affordable price compared to other leading wireless earbuds, but you're also getting a bunch of awesome features. Raycon earbuds have high quality, premium audio at half the price. 32 hours of battery life, are water and splash resistant, they have noise isolation mode, and you can even get them in a variety of colors. The everyday earbuds have different custom sized gel tips that let you find the perfect in-ear fit. As someone who enjoys working out, going for runs, and hiking, these Raycons have had a lot of use. The fact that they are sweat resistant and fit comfortably in my ear when moving around, and they have that long battery life has been perfect for me. You also can't forget the really handy wireless charging case, which you can bring with you anywhere. With 50,000 5-star reviews, I think it's safe to say that the everyday Raycon earbuds are the way to go. And guess what? If you click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/suprs, you can get 15% off your next Raycon purchase. On the website, you can also just see how much more features these earbuds have to offer. Speaking of well-known, Lynx Titan, the first ever player to reach 200 million XP in every skill, said that doing this money-making method was a guaranteed 40 to 50 million GP profit every day for a few hours worth of work. Depending on how many other players were doing this at the same time, or if bots were involved, this method would range between 8 to 15 million GP an hour. I know some of you have never made that much money in your entire RuneScape career, so this method was insane. Lynx Titan actually predicted the nerfing of this method, as he claimed 5 to 800 million GP was coming into the game daily, which caused huge inflation problems. He was right. Jagex initially tried to limit the abuse of this by requiring the use of Karamja Gloves 3, the hard tier reward from the Karamja diary, but it didn't really do much, and eventually on May 25th, 2017, the method was patched, and the store now only buys the items for 55% of their item value as opposed to the previous 70. Just like that, one of the greatest ever moneymakers was banned. In the same year, imbued god capes were added to the game alongside the Mage Arena 2 mini-quest update. This update allowed players who completed the mini-quest to upgrade from a regular god cape to an imbued god cape that offered a better magic mage and defensive bonus. There was one issue, however, that caused this update to have a day 1 hotfix. After completing the mini-quest and imbuing your cape, you were able to obtain additional ones without needing to redo any part of the mini-quest. The issue with the imbued capes, however, however, was that each cape could be high alked for 60,000 GP. Some players realized how broken this was and immediately began farming the capes. If you were able to alk even just 300 of the capes per hour, which is on the low side, you'd be making close to 20 million GP per hour. Luckily, or unluckily, however you want to look at it, Jagex realized what was happening and came out with a hotfix that made the imbued god capes unalkable, and removed any additional capes that were obtained in this manner. By the way, we're super close to 300,000 subscribers on this channel. There's a chance you get banned if you aren't subscribed, so make sure to make that happen now. Thank you. In March of 2023, an update was released into the game that changed how venom and poison work. Before this update, if you venomed or poisoned a monster and then ran out of combat range, the monster would become immune and would no longer take any damage from your venom. But with this update, that changed. You could now leave an area after you venomed a monster and it would continue to do damage. So theoretically, if I were in a multi-combat area, I could venom every monster there, leave, and when I come back after waiting a bit, all the monsters would be dead since the venom was slowly killing them, even though I wasn't in the area. As you can imagine, this opened up a lot of possibilities to make some crazy money. The most popular method was to equip a blowpipe and a serpentine helm and run around the Tsar area, tagging every single Tsar monster they saw. Equipping the blowpipe and Serp Helm meant that you had a 100% chance to venom a monster, as long as you hit them for above 1 damage. There are hundreds of Tsar monsters in the Tsar area, almost all of which have a chance to drop Tsar weapons. Things like the Obsidian Cape, Obby Shield, Obby Sword, Obby Maul, and Obby Staff, all worth hundreds of thousands of GP each. The method was to just run around the city and tag every monster you could with your blowpipe. If you needed more prayer or more run energy, you could just teleport back to your house, use your rejuvenation pool, use the fairy ring to get back to the city, and repeat the process. With this method, you could get around 1,500 Tsar kills an hour, a kill every 20 to 25 seconds or so. Because of this, it became very easy to farm the Tsar items and the Tokkul, which would automatically be collected for you if you wore a Ring of Wealth. This method would make players at least 1 million GP per hour, and if you got lucky, up to 2.5 mil, and that was just on Tsars. Other places where you could venom multiple monsters at once in a multi-area like lava dragons, abyssal demons, and more were abused as well. Not long after some videos and posts came out, the method was patched. The venom timer will now only reset after 54 seconds of being out of combat. But for the time it was out, a lot of collection log slots were obtained, which undoubtedly made a lot of players happy. But did it make other players as happy as when you could abuse a broken mechanic and the Taibo Wana cleanup minigame to make millions of GP an hour? For most people, the Taibo Wana cleanup minigame is no fun. It's slow, repetitive, and annoying. Most players only do it to complete the medium Karamja diary. There is one shining light though, and that's the Gout Tuber, which is a rare reward you can receive during the minigame and is worth a pretty penny. Throughout its history, the Gout Tuber has ranged between 500k all the way up to 1.2 mil, and usually averages at around 750k. When you receive the Gout Tuber during the minigame, you have 10 minutes to dig it up with a spade, and you are the only person that can dig up a Gout Tuber that you find. But this did not used to be the case. Before 2017, if a player found a Gout Tuber, anyone else who was around was able to dig it up and take it from them. But here's the crazy part. Because of that, if a group of people began digging up the Gout Tuber at the same time, every single person would receive one. So if a team of let's say 5 people were doing this minigame, you could expect to find around 2 to 3 Gout Tubers per hour. Every time one was found, all 5 players would begin digging the Gout Tuber at the same time, and everyone would get one. If each Gout Tuber was 750k, that's 3.75 million GP worth of them coming into the game every time. By finding 2 to 3 of these patches per hour, millions of GP could be made. While there were legitimate teams of players doing this to make money, legions of bot farms were created as well to abuse this. Eventually, in 2017, the method was patched. Now only you can dig up a Gout Tuber that you find, no one else. While the method wasn't illegal, many of the bot farms that abuse this method were in fact banned. Moneymaker busted. At the beginning of 2023, a money-making method was revealed to the public that supposedly made 2 billion GP per hour. Yeah, you heard that correctly, not million, billion. The method was a duplication bug that could be done at the Soul Wars minigame. Here's how it was done. One of the rewards of Soul Wars is being able to imbue items like rings, salve amulets, and a Slayer helm. In order to imbue the items, you need to pay Soul Wars Zeal tokens, which can be obtained by playing the minigame itself. Now, if you want, you can also unimbue your item here, and you'll be refunded 80% of the reward points that were used to imbue it. For example, if you used the 500 reward points to imbue a black mask and then unimbued it, you you would receive 400 points in return. In a late December 2022 update, Jagex updated the hard combat achievement diaries and introduced this as a reward. Imbues at Nightmare Zone and Soul Wars cost 50% fewer points. This means that if you had the hard tier completed, it would now only cost 250 Zeal tokens to imbue your Black Mask. Because of this, Jagex also had to reduce the amount of Zeal you received if you unimbued an item using the shop. Unfortunately for Jagex, they apparently forgot to make this change to one item: an imbued Black Mask. Like I mentioned earlier, you receive 400 Zeal tokens for unimbuing a Black Mask at the shop, and it costs 500 to imbue, so you would lose 100 Zeal. But with the hard combat diary update, it only costs 250 to imbue, but you would still receive the 400 Zeal tokens for unimbuing the mask, meaning you would gain 150 Zeal tokens out of nowhere. By constantly imbuing and unimbuing Black Masks at the Soul Wars shop, you'd be getting tens of thousands of free Zeal tokens every minute. If done efficiently, up to 2.7 million Zeal in 1 hour. The Zeal tokens you received could then be spent on Spoils of War crates, which make you an average of 85k per crate. If we take into account the amount of time it takes to buy and open the Spoils of War crates, we're looking at around 2 billion GP per hour. The original video posted on Twitter that leaked this method showcased a client that was specifically created to abuse this method. It allowed the user to start a script that would automatically imbue and unimbue the masks to farm points, buy the Spoils of War crates from the shop, and open all the crates to get the loot. In total, the person who used this method claimed to have made 500 billion GP until the method was patched. Now, it is worth mentioning that this method was never confirmed to have happened. There was no official Jagex news post on the dupe, so there's no way to know for certain if it actually occurred. But based on some other evidence, like the price of the Spoils of War items dropping in price when the glitch was happening, and other players claiming to have also partaken in the glitch, I'd say there's a good chance that this actually happened. The method itself was possible to do, and with an exploit like that, there's always going to be somebody who abuses it, especially when there's hundreds of billions of GP to be made. I've got some honorable mentions I wanted to throw out there as well. One of my favorite ever exploits involved my absolutely favorite set of armor in the game, the Dagenhai robes. Now, this glitch happened back before OSRS was a thing, around 2008 to 2011. During the quest While Guthic Sleeps, you unlock an area in Taverley Dungeon called the Black Knight Base. There's a certain room in the base that has a wardrobe in it. If you open this wardrobe during the quest, you'll be given a set of Dagenhai robes: the hat, top, and bottom. Once you receive these robes during the quest, you would then bank the hat and bottom and return to the room wearing the elite Black Knight armor with high alchemy runes in your inventory. Next, you would drop your Dagenhai robe top, search the wardrobe to receive another one, alch the one you just received in your inventory, and repeat the process. Each Dagenhai robe top alched for 72,000 GP each, which means an inventory of them would net you 1.872 million GP. Doing this consistently for an hour made you about 40 million GP. For those who are running bots to abuse this method, they made about 1 billion GP a day. Now, I swear there was a video of this method somewhere on the internet, but I can't for the life of me find it. All I was able to find were these incredibly blurry screenshots of someone doing this, but I remember this being a thing, and for those of you that were around during this time, I'm sure you will remember it as well. If you know of any banned moneymakers that you think would fit into a part 2 of this video, let me know in the comments down below or send me a message on Discord or Twitter. I'll see you all in the next one.